Charlotte Brown. Let's head to London in the winter of 2015. 24-year-old Charlotte Brown, or Charli, as her friends called her,
Hello.
was a business development consultant. She was bright, adventurous, and like so many others, was navigating the choppy waters of online dating. She matched with a guy named Jack Shepard on a dating app. He was a 28-year-old web developer, and his profile, well, it probably seemed charming enough. Shepard had a secret weapon for impressing his dates. It wasn't a fancy car or a reservation at a Michelin-star restaurant. No, Jack's big move was his 14-foot Fletcher Arrowflyte speedboat. I mean, you have to admit, a private tour down the River Thames at night past the Houses of Parliament, it sounds romantic, right? A real wow moment. So, on the night of December 8th, Charli and Jack met for their first date. They started with drinks at the Shard, one of London's most iconic skyscrapers, enjoying the panoramic views of the city. Everything was going great. Afterwards, Jack led Charli down to his waiting speedboat. He'd brought champagne. Of course he had. He called himself the speedboat seducer, you know. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. The speedboat seducer wasn't exactly prepared. The boat had known defects, the steering was faulty, and neither he nor Charli were wearing life jackets. Oh, and Jack had been drinking. Heavily. Late at night, on the cold, dark river, he decided to show off. He pushed the throttle, speeding through the water at more than double the speed limit. In the darkness, the boat struck a submerged object, likely a tree trunk. The impact was violent, and both Jack and Charli were thrown into the freezing water of the Thames. Jack was rescued, clinging to the overturned hull, but Charli was gone. She was pulled from the water unresponsive a short time later. She never regained consciousness and was pronounced dead in the hospital. The official cause of death was drowning after being ejected from the speedboat. And what did the speedboat seducer do? The man who was at the helm of the defective speeding boat? He fled the country. He went on the run to Georgia to avoid facing the consequences. It took months, but he was eventually found, extradited back to the UK, and in 2018 he was finally sentenced. The judge called his actions cowardly and selfish. For manslaughter by gross negligence, Jack Shepard was sentenced to 6 years in prison. A tragically short sentence for a life so carelessly lost on what was supposed to be a magical first date. Warriena Wright. In August of 2014, a 26-year-old woman from New Zealand named Warriena Wright was on holiday in Surfers Paradise on Australia's Gold Coast. She was there for a friend's wedding, enjoying the sun and the nightlife. While there, she did what millions of single people do. She swiped right on Tinder. She matched with a 28-year-old local named Gable Tosti. After exchanging a few messages, they decided to meet. Warriena went back to Gable's apartment on the 14th floor of the Avalon high-rise building for drinks. What happened next is a chilling, modern-day horror story, pieced together almost entirely from a 3-hour audio recording that Gable, for some bizarre reason, made on his phone. The night started with drinks and consensual sex, but the mood quickly soured. The audio recording captures a night spiraling into chaos. They drank heavily, and a loud, violent argument broke out. Gable can be heard becoming increasingly aggressive and controlling. At one point, he physically restrains Warriena. You can hear her pleading to go home. She sounds terrified. She says, "I want to go home," over and over again. His response is chilling. He calls her a psycho little bitch and threatens to knock her out. Then, he does something truly monstrous. He locks her out on his 14th floor balcony, trapped in the dark, with a man who had just assaulted her on the other side of the door. Warriena was in a state of pure panic. She repeatedly screamed for him to let her go, that she just wanted to leave. But he wouldn't. Desperate to escape, she tried to climb down to the balcony of the apartment below. She didn't make it. Witnesses heard a terrifying scream and then a sudden silence. Warriena Wright fell 14 stories to her death. Her body was found on the concrete below. And Gable Tosti? What did he do after a woman fell to her death from his balcony? He didn't call for help. He didn't check to see if she was okay. He left the apartment, wandered the streets for a while, and then he bought pizza. He called his father and said, "I might have a bit of a situation." In 2016, Gable Tosti was put on trial for murder and manslaughter. The audio recording was the centerpiece of the case. In a verdict that shocked many, the jury found him not guilty on all charges. The court accepted the defense's argument that he had only locked her on the balcony to de-escalate the situation, and that she had climbed over the railing of her own volition. Gable Tosti walked free. The Glass House Mountains hiker. There's a certain type of first date, the adventurous date, the one designed to show off just how rugged, outdoorsy, and, well, impressive you are. A scenic hike, a bit of rock climbing, it sounds great on paper, but when you're trying to impress someone, sometimes you can forget about, basic safety. This brings us to the Glass House Mountains in Queensland, Australia. It's a popular spot for hikers and climbers, known for its steep volcanic plugs and breathtaking views. It's also known for being a place that requires some serious caution. In recent years, a young man in his 20s decided this would be the perfect spot for a first date. He invited a woman he'd met to go for a hike and a climb. It was a classic impress your date move. The area attracts countless couples and Instagram hikers, all looking for that perfect summit selfie. During the climb, however, the man apparently moved into a precarious position. Maybe he was showing off, maybe he just lost his footing. The details are sparse, but the result was catastrophic. He fell. Not just a little stumble, he fell roughly 30 meters, that's nearly 100 feet, down onto the rock slopes below. His date and other witnesses could only watch in horror. Emergency services were called, but the terrain was so difficult that it took rescue crews a long time to reach him. By the time they did, it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene from massive blunt force trauma. The story became a local cautionary tale, a first date gone horribly wrong. Park authorities used the incident to remind people that these beautiful peaks are not a casual stroll in the park. The dumbness here lies in underestimating a technical, cliffy environment for what was supposed to be a casual first date. It's a classic case of ambition outweighing ability. A romantic, adventurous gesture that ends in a straight-down, 100-foot plunge in front of your horrified date. Not exactly the second date material you're hoping for. Alison Pickering. In May of 2023, Alison Pickering, a 23-year-old college student from Texas, went on a first date. Alison had a severe peanut allergy, something she'd lived with her entire life. She was incredibly careful about what she ate, always checking ingredients, always prepared. For her date, she deliberately chose a restaurant she had been to before. She knew the menu, and she knew what was safe for her to eat. It was a calculated decision to avoid any risk on what should have been a fun, carefree evening. She ordered the mahi-mahi, a fish dish she had safely eaten at that very same restaurant in the past. To be extra cautious, she informed the staff about her severe peanut allergy. They assured her it would be fine. But it wasn't. Unbeknownst to Alison, and tragically not communicated by the staff, the restaurant had recently changed the recipe. The new version of the dish included a peanut-based sauce. After just a few bites, Alison knew something was wrong. She started to feel the terrifying, all too familiar symptoms of a severe allergic reaction. She immediately used her EpiPen, and her date and the restaurant staff called for an ambulance. She was conscious and able to walk to the ambulance herself, but her condition deteriorated rapidly on the way to the hospital. She fell unconscious. She never woke up. Alison Pickering died from severe anaphylactic shock caused by ingesting peanuts. Her family, devastated, spoke to the media to warn others about the dangers of hidden allergens and recipe changes. It's a dark, tragic irony. She did everything right. She went to a place she trusted, ordered a meal she thought was safe, and took every precaution. But a silent, invisible change to a recipe turned a hopeful first date into a lethal trap. Ashley Ellerin. We have the most chilling story of all. The story of a first date that never even happened. In February of 2001, 22-year-old Ashley Ellerin was living in Hollywood. She was a fashion student, a part-time stripper, and was moving in entertainment circles. She had recently planned a first night out with a promising young actor. That actor's name? Ashton Kutcher. On the night of February 21st, 2001, Kutcher was scheduled to pick Ashley up from her home in the Hollywood Hills for a post-Grammys party. He called her that evening to confirm, but she didn't answer. He tried again later, leaving a message. When he still didn't hear back, he decided to just drive to her house. He was running late. When he arrived, the lights were on and her car was in the driveway. He knocked on the door. No answer. He tried the doorknob, but it was locked. He then went to the side window to peer inside. What he saw, he later testified, looked like red wine stains spilled on the carpet. He just figured she was upset with him for being late and had gone out without him, so he left. Those weren't wine stains. It was blood. Earlier that evening, before Ashton Kutcher ever arrived, a serial killer named Michael Gargiulo had entered Ashley's home. Gargiulo, who would later be dubbed the Hollywood Ripper, was a monster who targeted women in their homes. He attacked Ashley in a frenzied rage, stabbing her 47 times. Her body was discovered the next morning by her roommate. The first date with Ashton Kutcher never happened because Ashley was already dead before he even arrived to pick her up. It's a story that is grimly ironic. A future A-list celebrity peering through a window, completely unaware that he is looking at the bloody aftermath of a gruesome murder, mistaking it for spilled wine. Years later, in 2019, Ashton Kutcher would testify in court against Michael Gargiulo, who was eventually convicted of multiple murders, including Ashley's.